But I used to travel around the boxing booths. There used to be a chap come down from Scotland, Tommy Woods, my manager knew him, I think, and he got in touch with me and said, would I box for him? And he would tell me where he was, and I would just go from work, travel there, and box for him. I'd go on the front, and as you weren't supposed to box on unlicensed show, I used to box under a different name. You know, I mean, I'd be Teddy Bartlett, because that was a name that James Cagney used in a film at one time, so I used that, yeah, so I used Teddy Bartlett. Well, Mickey Duff took his name off of James Cagney. We would be up on the front and doing a bit of shadow boxing and things like that, and they'd have a speed ball hanging up there, and someone would punch the ball, and then the spieler, the man Tommy Woods, would start saying, like, anybody want to box these boys, I'll give you £1 for lasting 3 rounds, £5 if you can knock him out, you know. And then you'd get people come up, if you were lucky. I mean, it was a business, it was Tommy Woods' business. So if no one came up to challenge, you always had 2 or 3 fighters in the crowd outside to challenge you. And they would put on a bit of a show and say, I'll fight him, I'll have that one. And me being the smallest one on the front, everybody wanted to fight me. I used to get more fights than anybody else. And they would come up and, you know, we'd put on a bit of a show in front and more or less get to fight, you know, as if we'd go and fight each other and then you get the people come in, like, you know. And then you'd have the fight. And usually if it was a G fight like that, one of your own, it was better than the real fight. We used to get in a clinch. I mean, you'd say things like, you know, and he'd say, hit me on the chin. And I'd throw a punch at him, and what you did, I mean, you didn't hit him on the chin, you hit him with the half-open glove on the shoulder there, bang, it looked like that, their head went back, and it made such a noise, it looked like a terrific punch, you know. And he used to go head first through the ropes, and end up amongst the crowd, and things like that, you know, and people loved all this. But, and then, after the fight, Tommy Woods would say, now the boys put on a good show for you now, I'm going to let them come round with the hat, show your appreciation. So then we would go round with the hat. I used to borrow someone's hat, and they used to have to wait until I collected all my money before they could get their hat back. But it was great. But we used to get, I mean, there were people, a lot of people, especially down at Epsom on Derby Day. I used to go down there on the downs at Derby Day in the booth. And you'd have several coming up then. I mean, people who'd lost their money on the racing. And okay, because people don't know about boxing booths now, but all they were really was a big marquee with the ring in the middle, and you had a platform outside where you'd all stand and show yourself off. And someone taking the money as they went in. I think they paid about £2 bob to come in, something like that. But down at Epsom, where they had the fair on the downs every Derby Day, it was a big fair, very big fair. We always had the booth there, and you would get the people there that lost their money, and they wanted to get their fare home, and they would come up and challenge you, you know, and you get one after the other coming up. I know I had one come up once, and he challenged me, and he's going to fight me. He's sitting in the other corner, and chap in my corner said, have you heard about him? He's just come out of prison for GBH, like, you know. But I mean, he might have done, but he couldn't fight in the ring. He might have been all right out in the street, but he couldn't fight in the ring. And you found this a lot. I mean, I enjoyed boxing in the booth. It was fun. The G fights were fun. And you still learned a lot because you boxed some good fighters. I mean, there was a lot of good fighters who used to travel with the booth with us. I mean, all the different champions even, you know, come and box on there. But I mean, like Freddie Mills, he started off in the booth. I boxed in the same booth as Freddie Mills at one time, down in Poole in Dorset while I was in the army. Not with Freddie Mills, but it was a, you know, booth he boxed in. These boxing booths were a big thing in fairgrounds at that time. People used to come regular, and they were going on really well. I don't know why they stopped, but they just did. So maybe people got too much money then, they didn't have to go in a boxing booth to earn some money, and it was all easy for them then. But to me, it was a good way of life and enjoyable, you know.